Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's Wednesday night, and it's time to talk about music. This is our midweek music roundup where we talk about all the things that are going on in and around the area musically over the course of the next couple of weeks. There are uh, several, and I did not find all of these. I know there's more than of these. I know there's more festivals and stuff going on in the course of the next week or so that I don't have a handle on, and I don't know exactly where they're going to be. I tried to find a few of those, but my searching was limited. I will try to have more of those. Give you a heads up next week. Um, Next week, next Wednesday is July 3rd. Next Thursday is July 4th. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on around there. I know there's things related to vacations and you know special events and stuff, and some of those are going on this weekend. uh some of the Fourth of July festivities will be happening this weekend because the Independence Day is in the middle of the week next week. uh, but I'll try to give you a heads up next Wednesday. I'm pretty sure we'll be live. I'll do something. It'll either be live or I'll do a pre-recorded broadcast and go ahead and broadcast it at the same time, one way or the other, however that works. Um, and then I'm going to do the same thing for Thursday night too. So we'll see how that goes. I got to figure that out pretty quick, actually. It's almost time. Tonight, uh, we're going to do the same thing we always do. We're going to go through a list, talk about all the events and stuff. Also, got something really, really cool. Uh, Possibly a little, I don't know. I've never been in this position before, so it's a little different. Damian, are you ready? By the way, all right. Let me pull Damian up here on the stage real quick. All right, and I'll unmute you. Sorry, I had you muted. So you if you're banging around in the background, I wasn't didn't have to listen to you. So um,
Yeah, had a bit of a difficulty there for a second. My
yeah,
phone wasn't going to make it through the ordeal, but yeah. How's it going? I
pretty
am
good.
back.
So I'll admit I'm a little I'm just a little bit apprehensive about this. This is different for me. Um, so for those of you that don't know what's going on tonight, Damien was on a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I guess it's been like a month and a half ago. Time kind of snuck away from us there. Damien was on with us a while back, and I got to talk to him about what went on behind the scenes as far as setting up a show and all the things that goes into the behind the scenes stuff that you don't normally see or you don't normally think about. And part of the deal to get Damien to come on and do that was there was going to be a part two to the show, and tonight is part two. And tonight's the night where I don't get to ask the questions. I get to be put in the hot seat. Damien gets to ask all the questions, and he gets to do the interview, and I get to do the interviewing, or be interviewed. Yeah. So at at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Damien. I'm going to let him take it away. He's got the ball. He can do whatever it is that he wants to and needs to. And then after he gets done with all that, then we'll go ahead and we'll go through the weekend lineup for what you can look for musically this weekend. But with that, Damien, the floor is yours.
Thank you, thank you. It's good to be back. Like you said, time kind of got away from us, and my schedule went a little haywire for a while. But that's the way life goes sometimes. But I'm glad that we found a spot to get it back in because I've been looking forward to this as well. Uh, because, like we were talking about with the kind of behind the scenes thing, what it takes to put something together. Like I know you're in the same vein, and as far as having to do a lot of work before the things that get seen and enjoyed and all that. And I've been kind of curious how it works for you as well, but also kind of the backstory, how you got there, or what led you into it, and all that. So, uh, I guess where I want to start is absolutely not there, and kind of ask you, because we've known each other a few years, but I still don't know just like a whole lot about you. So, like, what's kind of your backstory, like where you from originally, if it was from around here or not, and like I don't know, kind of just cliff notes, or you can go way in depth if you want, but like, what what's the backstory?
All right. Well,
How did you
um,
end close to this point?
I was born at a very early age, and I actually grew up on the other side of I grew up in Southwest Missouri. So I grew up about 5 miles north of the state line from Bella Vista, Arkansas. And that's kind of where home is. That's where I grew up. My parents actually still live in the house that I grew up in, out in the county. Our nearest neighbors were family. It's like we lived on a dead end dirt road, and the only other people that lived on the dead end dirt road were. It started off with my grandmother and two uncles and the associated cousins, and then after the cousins grew up, a couple of them moved onto the place, and eventually, grandma passed away, and we shuffled the houses around a little bit. But yeah, it was all family down this dead end dirt road the entire time I was growing up there. So, um, it's one of those things. It's like I never got the opportunity to learn how to do anything like roller skate or skateboard or anything like that, because if you've ever tried to do that on a dirt road, it doesn't work. Not a single little bit. I had a hard enough time trying to ride a bicycle on, and because uh, and that's a whole nother story about one time that I borrowed my cousin's brand new bicycle and managed to hit a rock and go flying over the handlebars, and scuff up her nice pretty new bike, and she wasn't really happy about that. So I scuffed it up. It only had a few scratches on it. I didn't do any damage to it. No, there was no damage to the rim. There was more damage to me than there was to the bicycle, but nobody seemed to care about that. So, um, so
Yeah,
and I'll get to this. Uh, so Steel and Stitches said this earlier. She said, "You sound a little nervous." Well, maybe just a little bit. It's like I said, I've never had to actually, you know, do this before, and it's a little out of control. So, um, how did I learn to have that DJ voice that everyone comments on? All right, so
I was gonna get to if you.
um, we can do that, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of this, because if I started going down all the rabbit trails that are related to this, it would take forever. So I got my start in um, audio visual stuff back in junior high and high school. I was actually a part of um, our choir, our ensemble, and me and my buddy Andy were the ones that were in charge of all the AV gear whenever we would go out and perform at some place. So we were the ones lugging the rack around and setting up the speakers and hooking everything up and mics and all that stuff. So I got to learn a little bit about that. Then uh, at church, I have never. People have told me that I mean I don't think I really have a singing voice. I really don't. But I, it was kind of one of those things that I went to a small school and everybody was in choir. So, you know, if you sing quiet enough and everybody else is loud enough, anybody sounds good. It's kind of like I think the theory that some people use their guitars for. They might sound terrible, but if they turn up their amp loud enough, nobody can tell the difference as long as they can
Yep.
play. Um, but then when I was in high school, um, the church that I was going to moved into a new building, and they moved into the new building, our pastor nominated me to be the one to take over running the audio doing the recording for the church services and managing the soundboard and stuff like that. So that was the experience that I had working in that. Um, Another piece to the DJ voice is I went to college, and when I was at college, I hung out with a couple of guys, um, and one of those worked in radio in the Des Moines area because I went to college in Ankeny, Iowa, and one of the guys worked at one of the radio stations in Des Moines. And actually, I'm not sure. I know Chad did. I'm not sure if Tom did or not. But Tom and Chad were really good friends, and they would always sit around um, when we were like screwing around over at Tom's house. Um, they'd always sit around and they would always be working on their what they called their Ron radio voices. So I heard and I listened to them and got to pick up on some stylistic pieces of how they did that and some of the ways they did intonation and inflection and stuff like that. So that was kind of that piece of it. That was where I learned what the DJ is supposed to sound like if you're going to be on a top 40 radio show this weekend. So, and yeah, so I kind of learned
that was good.
Thank you. Well, like I said, I kind of picked that up from them, and but I never really thought about it. I never really thought about anything about ever doing anything like this. I know this is going to sound weird, but I'm actually kind of a shy person and kind of reserved, and I prefer to kind of be in the background. I'm not, I'm not that guy that's always going to be out there and in front of everything. So, hey, Mr. Bateman, how are you doing tonight?
What's up, brother?
He says, hey, I know that guy. I don't know if he's talking about me or you.
I think he was saying he knows that guy that's going to be putting himself out there.
Oh, okay. So
he definitely knows.
I was never that guy. And then when I went to work, I worked at Walmart for a while. It's just funny because, I grew up just a stone's throw away from Walmart's headquarters. Well, the first place I worked for Walmart was in Tampa, Florida, as a cart pusher. That was my first job at Walmart. I was a cart pusher. And that was when I was going to work part-time. When I told them I wanted to go full-time, they put me in the garden center. And I'll be the first one to tell you everything I know about plants is right here in the palm of my hand. I don't know nothing. Okay. I don't know nothing about plants around here. And then you take me to Florida and it's an entirely different environment.
Yeah, that's a whole world down there.
Yeah. Joe said he was talking about both of us. He knows both of us. So, and yeah, it's like, and one day, I was still a smartass though, because I know that's hard to believe. One day, this lady comes into the garden center and she says, "Can you tell me how to plant this? What do I need to do to plant this tree?" It was like a palm tree or something. I'm like, I figure you dig a hole and put it in the ground. And she's like, "I just can't believe you're being such a smart aleck." Like that, goes and stomps off. And so I'm like, I wonder, because all these trees, they have tags on them with instructions that tell you what to do. And the tree comes and it's wrapped in a burlap sack. And so I go over there and I like look at the instructions on it. And the instructions say to dig a hole that's approximately 6 inches deeper than the sack, loosen the cord around the top of the stack, stick it in the hole and cover it. So the instructions literally were dig a hole and put it in the ground. Who knew?
Yeah. Actually the right before I started being a plumber, I actually did some time in the Walmart garden center myself.
Okay.
I had about 3 or 4 out there, and I was in the same boat. Knew nothing about it. Like, I think the full extent of knowledge I left with was annual flowers only bloom once. Perennials, they'll come back next year too.
Okay.
That's about all I got.
All right. I can go with that. While I was working there though, it was great because I didn't really have to worry about getting blamed for anything. And it was kind of funny because this is back when, and this is going to show you how long ago it was and how old I am, both at the same time. Newhart was a big show on TV. Knowing that Newhart was a big show on TV is very important when I tell you that in the Garden Center there was three guys named Larry and one guy named Daryl. So, so instead of, in Newhart it was, hi, my name is Larry, this is my brother Daryl, this is my other brother Daryl. Well, for us it was, hi, my name's Larry, this is my brother Larry, this is my other brother Larry, and this is Daryl. So it's like, but it was nice because at all times there was always somebody named Larry that was working. So if you called up, you could call the Garden Center anytime, morning, afternoon, evening, weekday, weekend. There was going to be a guy named Larry that was there, which is great because, well, Larry said it wasn't me. It must have been one of the other ones. Which one's not here today? It was him. So, but then
customers right now, like, oh, that's convenient. Another Larry, huh?
Exactly. Yes.
Oh God, I'm glad we didn't tell her about the third one.
Yeah. They call up and they ask, "Hey, can I talk to Larry?" Yeah, I don't know. And then, you answer the phone, "Hello," and they're like, "Yeah, I don't have any idea what it is you're talking about. It must have been the other Larry you were talking to." Yeah, it was great. But anyway, so I moved from Florida back to Arkansas, and I worked in in store 100, which is right across the street from the home office. I worked there for a couple of years, and then I moved over. There was a couple of bounces around in the middle of that, but I ended up moving over to the home office and going to work in the home office. And my boss, uh, my I was talking to my boss, and after I'd been working there for a little while, she's like, "You know what? You've got a really nice voice." She says, "You need to start making our uh, announcements, or because we'd have to do like a recorded announcement every day. Hi, thank you for calling Retail Link Support. Today is November, or whatever. Today is, I guess, Wednesday, June 26th, and there are no outstanding issues at this time. Please hold for the next available operator," or whatever, something like that. She's like, "You've got a really good voice. You need to start doing this." Well, all right, you told me to do so. Yeah, I recorded. The one thing about that was kind of bad though is I would never write out a script ahead of time of what I was supposed to say, which I know that's not unusual because I still don't write a script out for what I'm supposed to say most of the time. I like to be surprised like everybody else. But the problem is that I'd be recording this outgoing message, and for some reason the phone system that we had at that time did not have a review function on it. So when you started recording the new outgoing message, it automatically replaced the existing outgoing message. And there were several times that I'd be in the middle of it and I'd screw something up and I'm like, "Oh shit." And then I'd have to hurry up and stop and then go back in and start recording again before anybody happened to call in and hear that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I. Oh,
to the best of my knowledge, nobody ever actually heard me do that. But yeah, that did happen a couple of times. So yeah, that was my first experience in doing anything where I was having to do any kind of voice work or anything like that. And then quit working for Walmart, worked for Tyson for a while, bounced around, did this and that, came to work for Teleflora. So, huh? Yeah, ended up as the door guy at Teleflora. Excuse me, not at Teleflora, at LA's.
Okay.
I walked into LA's one night, and yeah, we were in there, hanging out, and I saw Heather, and I kind of sort of knew who Heather was because her son and my son played baseball together, and so I saw her and she was kind of standing there and she had kind of just a look on her face. And so I walked up and I said, "Do you need help?" And she says, "Yeah." She says, "I need a waitress and a door guy." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have the boobs to be a waitress, but what does a door guy do?" So, she told me, and I'm like, well, let me think about it. So I thought about it for a little bit, and then, yeah, I can do that. So I started, and it was kind of a mistake, because really, and this is a common mistake, and I really think this is one of the problems that a lot of people have when they start working in nightclubs, is that they don't realize, that they're working in a nightclub. They don't realize they signed up for that. And like the first thing that I thought of was, okay, I'm going to get paid $50 a night. Cool. That's usually about what my tab is every night. So I can work here and it'll cover my tab. And it wasn't until that first night, it's like, wait a minute, I'm working. I'm not going to have a tab because I'm working. I don't think I thought this through.
Right.
And I really think that that is a problem that a lot of people have when they go to work in a nightclub, is they're used to coming to a nightclub and they're used to partying and having fun, and they think, oh, I'm gonna go get paid to party, and they forget that part about you're there to work. And so that yeah, that kind of like really skews it a lot, so you have to stay until after close. You can't leave early. You can't drink. It's just it's weird. It's like it's a job or something. But
Yeah, they'll sneak up on you, man. I'll tell you.
it does. I mean, it was crazy. It's kind of like
But
having
yeah,
kids. You're just out there poking fun, and all of a sudden she takes serious, and then the next thing you know, you got a couple of kids.
yeah. But I can definitely relate to that. Went into a bar club scene, and like, yeah, you're being paid to be there and provide a service of some sort, uh, and like for me, unfortunately, it's somewhat encouraged for people, performing to, have a few libations. And yeah, I've definitely went to clubs with the expectation of like I'm here to work, and then like you said, end up with a heck of a tab, and I just worked for free that night.
Right. Yeah. Um, I will say I understand. And I don't think that anyone should take it to excess, but I do understand that alcohol does help you relax, and sometimes that does make people actually as a performer, it does help kind of take that edge off and get rid of some of that nervousness, and does help them perform better, um,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because they're not as nervous about it. There always
yeah,
are those times when it gets taken to excess, and then it becomes a detriment and they can't perform because and I've seen both sides of that. So I get what you're saying. Um,
yeah.
anyway, to continue with my story, and we're basically about to the point of the genesis of DJ Taint. After all of this stuff that's went on in the background, led me up to working at LA's, and then so I was working as a door guy, and I'd worked there for I don't know, 3, 4, 6 months. I really wasn't keeping track. I just worked there for a while as the door guy, and there was this running joke that Robert was like a magician. He could be like sitting at in his chair, and then the next thing you look, and he's disappeared. Just he was the best at just absolutely vanishing with nobody seeing him. And to the point that it was a running joke, and everybody was trying to keep track of him, and he'd still managed to sneak out without us seeing him. I To this day, I haven't quite figured out how he managed to sneak past me so many times because I was at the door. Um, but uh, this one night, it was a Thursday night, and there was an acoustic duo that was playing. They were up on stage, and they were playing. And at this point in time, Robert was the DJ. Um, he was the DJ every weekend, all weekend long. Um, and it's like he'd have bands playing, and he was the DJ in their breaks and that kind of stuff. But yeah, he was the music guy. And yeah, there's this acoustic band that's up there playing, and um, they're playing along, and they get to the end of this song, and one of them says, "All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back in about 15 minutes." Okay, cool. So I'm looking. I'm waiting for Robert to come around the corner, to get up in the DJ booth, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and pretty soon Heather comes around the corner of the DJ booth, and she says, "Where the hell's Utley?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Not my week to watch him. Never my
Yeah.
week to watch him." 12 years later, and it's still not my week to watch him. Um, but so she's like, "Well, computers, go play something." So I hop up in the DJ booth, and I'd kind of looked up there, and so I kind of knew what everything was and kind of how he was doing everything anyway. So, I got up there and I picked some music out, and I, played some songs, and you know, they finished their break and they went back up and they played some more. And then after their break, I, closed out the evening, and played all the music. Now I did all of this and I never said a word. Remember, and I know this sounds like I'm blowing smoke up your ass. I'm really kind of shy. I swear to you, I really am. And so I didn't say anything on the microphone. I mean, I was afraid that microphone was going to bite me or something if I picked it up. So I didn't say anything at all the entire night. But I knew that I was going to have to say something at last call. I knew I was going to have to announce last call somehow. So for like the last hour, this is a thought that's just churning around in the back of my head that I'm going to have to say something. I'm going to have to say something. I'm going to have to say something. And just going over and over and over it in the back of my mind. And we just kept, just the hamsters were probably about to go, die from all the exertion of the hamster wheel spinning as I'm just keep going over this. And then finally it comes time for last call. And nobody knew what to expect. And I didn't know what to expect either. So I grabbed the microphone and just like, thumbed the microphone on and said, and it really hasn't changed a whole lot from the first time I said it. It's minor tweaks, but it's pretty much the same thing as what I still do when I call last call. I'm like, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to, but I got to tell you that this is your last call for alcohol. So if you need one more drink, if you need to get a little bit more in you, then you need to get up to the bar and order it right now. Once again, this is your last call for alcohol." And that was the first thing I said on the microphone the entire night. And I'll never, I won't forget this. This is kind of like indelibly stamped in my mind. Heather's back behind the bar and she's starting to walk toward that cutout to walk out from behind the bar. And she's walking through there and she stops and she turns and looks and she turns back and then she keeps on doing what she was doing. And so then, shut everything down, chase everybody out. Um, and I'm sitting up at the bar while they're, counting the money and finishing getting everything cleaned up and, paying out everybody and stuff like that. And she says, "So have you ever thought about being a DJ?" "No." "Do you want to? It pays better." "Okay."
Glad. Yeah, I
so,
can do this here, I guess.
so that was the start of me starting to be the DJ at LA's,
Okay.
which
Okay.
was that in itself was a struggle. The first couple of years were a real big struggle because Robert was used to being the DJ, and Robert was always the DJ,
Okay.
and it's very hard when this is your thing, this is your baby. It's really hard to let go of that and let somebody else do that. So yeah, Robert and I butted heads a lot the first couple years because it's like, I'm doing this. He's like, no, you need to do it this way. You're doing it wrong. It's like, but I'm doing this. I want to do it this way. And he's like, no, you need to do it this way. And we went back and, but so yeah, it did. It took a long time for him to get to the point where he trusted me and he had enough faith in me that he thought I could actually do the job. So, um, but yeah, that was how I started being the DJ. And then I've been doing that. I was still working as the door guy and being the DJ. Um, it was like Thursday night, I would uh, work as the door guy and the DJ, just kind of bounce back and forth between the two spots, depending on what was going on. Cause Thursdays are slow enough that I could do that. Um, Friday and Saturday, depending on what was going on, I might be the door guy or I might be the DJ. Eventually they hired another door guy and let me just be the DJ, but that is, I had to work into it. It wasn't just a flip in the switch kind of thing.
Right,
Um,
right.
but this one Thursday night I was working and you've probably heard this story before, but I'll share it with everybody else anyway. One Thursday night I was working and Cody Knoll was, we had what we called the acoustic corner where, which is something that still LA's does, where instead of using the main stage up at the front of the band side of the building for the acoustic sets, so we put the acoustic sets um, back over behind the back bar in front of the mirrored wall, and we have the acoustic guys set up back there. And so Cody's set up over there, and he's playing. And I guess I should interject at this point to say that there was a running joke between Heather and Robert that if somebody didn't come and complain about the asshole at the door at least once a week, that I wasn't doing my job because I was the door guy. So my job is to ask everybody for their ID, make them sign the book, and charge them $5 to get in. And there was always the questions of, I'm here every night. Why do you got to ask me for my ID? Because I got to ask you for your ID. And I'm here all the time. Are you really going to make me pay $5? No, only if you want to come in. So yeah, somebody was always going and complaining, that asshole at the door made me pay to get in here. He made me show my ID and I was just in here last night. And
Right.
so, yeah, that was the running joke. Well, um, so Cody's playing and Cody's getting ready to take a break. And Cody says, and I don't remember exactly how this conversation goes. The wording, I don't have the wording memorized. But the gist of it is that he says, all right, I'm going to take a break. I guess Larry's going to play for you a while now. And then he said to Heather, he says, wait a minute. If Larry used to be the asshole at the door and now he's the DJ, does that make him the taint? And that is the story of how I became DJ Taint.
All
So
right.
I blame it on Cody Knoll. It's his fault completely.
Aha.
And it was something that it took me a while to actually get used to the name, because uh, it's just it is a little kind of crude.
Yeah, yeah. There.
That would be a good word for it, crude. Um, it's definitely very edgy, and so yeah. At first, I was like, I don't know, but then I eventually decided that hey, look, I mean, I'm gonna have to if I'm gonna if I'm gonna do that, I might as well just lean into it and own it, right? So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how I became DJ Taint. So there you go. Now an abbreviated version of my
That
life history as it pertains to what it took me to become DJ Taint.
that was going to be another one. Is where exactly the name came from because, like you said, it's a
Yeah,
big. So I was one. I assume there was a decent story behind it, and
I think it's a
yeah,
decent story.
yeah, oh yeah, and I've heard a lot of really good stories from the Northeast Arkansas music scene that start with, so Cody Knoll, and unfortunately, I only got to meet that man maybe 3 or 4 times before he passed away. And uh, I always liked him, but I hear all kinds of great stories about him. So, but it going back to the junior high and the like high school and the choir thing, like you said, you never really planned on it like being a profession, like dealing with audio or entertainment, I guess, or whatever. But it was always kind of there floating around in the background, and it was was always something that was happening in the back. Is that like
Yeah, it was
uh,
one of those people that I guess other people thought that I had a talent for it, but I never really thought that I did. So I just kind of went with it.
like you weren't, so, but you weren't ever actively like trying to pursue being uh, a, a DJ per se?
No, not
Okay,
at all, not a bit.
and that's it's weird how we both kind of stumbled backward into
Yeah,
this line of stuff. But um, so as far as the actual doing the DJing stuff, which I think, well, obviously we do, and probably most people that are going to see this probably know the vibe of like LA's or something. But if you're doing some other function or something, the I'm guessing basically a big part of the DJ thing is to like read the room and kind of get the vibe going or whatever in the right direction. How, which I guess just takes a perceptive person. I mean, it's not super hard to read a group, I guess, but uh, how much work is that to try to read the vibe of a room and the match what you need to do to that, or if you're trying to slightly alter the mood of a room? How what I mean, obviously it's music choice, but what's your thought process behind it?
well, um,
Do you try to slam them all at once or ease them into them?
to see, it's really weird. So, um, yeah, I played a lot at LA's, and uh, I used to be there 3 nights a week. I was there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday every week. And so at that point in time, I knew all the regulars, and I knew that there were people that when they came in, they always had they were always going to request one or two songs. They always had these couple of songs that were their favorites. These are the songs they wanted to hear, right? So I got to the point where I would just kind of set up a and I guess I should start with I don't consider myself a DJ in the classic sense. I'm not a disc jockey. I don't do the wiki, scratching and I mean and all that stuff. I consider myself to be more of a master of ceremonies. My job is to be there so that everybody has a good time and just to facilitate that happening. So um, yeah,
Okay.
the nights that people say that I do the best job is when I actually do the least amount of thinking, because I you can ask me for a request and I'll play just about anything you ask for. Um, Sometimes I play it because I think it's a good idea. Sometimes I'll play it because it's something I haven't heard before. Sometimes I play it because I know everybody except two people are going to hate it, and I'm just going to screw with the entire crowd. But I'll play just about anything. Um, and I mean, I've even done, and I've pulled off some crazy stunts. Like when somebody says, "Play something good," well, what do you want me to play? I don't care. Just play something different. All right. Well, there's polka music coming up next, just for you. I have actually done that, but and there's one time, and this is great. I don't. I actually dug up the limbo track
Oh yeah,
from the skating rink. I actually
yeah,
dug that up and had a whole bunch of people in LA's doing the limbo one night.
nice,
So
nice.
it's like it was just all about having fun and just goofing around and doing something different. But as far as what to play, it yeah, it is. reading the room is tough.
Yeah.
Um, and it depends. There's even a difference depending on um, location, um, age group, your ethnic mix, um, day of the week. There's lots of. I mean, it can change all the time. Um, like if you're looking at, say, a predominantly, I would say predominantly older crowd, but I guess I'm now technically in that category. But some of the older crowd at LA's, they're very much into Southern rock. That's where they want a lot of their stuff. So they're looking for a lot of this, that genre of music. They want their Skinnerd and ZZ Top and that kind of stuff. Um,
Well, yeah.
if you're down at if I'm down at the Eagles and doing the bull ride event down at the Eagles in Jonesboro, I mean that's college kids. So you're talking a 30-year difference or 40-year difference between that LA's crowd and that Eagles crowd. And that is just a that is one of the strangest crowds. Um, because they just have, and this is not a bad thing. I just think it's interesting. It's interesting to see how people do this. Like there's a song. Um, it's not the the Cupid Shuffle. It's called Flex by the same guy. Uh,
Okay.
and I literally played that song and it finished. The next song started playing. Whilst that song was playing, somebody came up and asked me to play it again. I probably could have just put that on repeat and played it about 5 times in a row, and they'd have been okay with it. Um, but that crowd has an entirely different set of things they like. And like when I go to Memphis and I'm doing a cruise on the riverboat in Memphis, that's 3 or 4 different crowds depending on, is it a booze cruise, is it something like a college event, is it, so that can be a whole. And then you get into things like high school, or high school reunions, class reunions, weddings. It's just all about getting to understand the people and knowing what they like. So um, what I generally do if I'm going in and I don't know anything is I try to just like pick a stretch of stuff that covers a lot of different genres and styles and tastes, and then I watch the people and
Yeah.
just watch what they're doing. And if you start seeing people, if you start playing a song and people are starting to bop their head or they're starting to sing along with it,
Yeah.
um, then it's like, okay, so they like that song. And all right, I'm going to give away a secret now. This is one of the things, honestly, in technology has made this a little easier, um, because if I see uh, people that are really vibing to a song that's being played, I'll pull that song up in Spotify, and then I'll like right click on it and say go to song radio, and choose that song radio option for that song in Spotify, and then it gives me a list of songs that are similar in kind of the vibe of that song that you're currently playing. And then I'll like, okay, so they like that one. I'll pick 3 or 4 of these and I'll shuffle those into the mix and I'll start playing those. So
I'll,
yeah,
I'll,
I mean, that's only been the last couple of years that I've been able to do that. But like I
yeah.
said, it has made it a lot easier for trying to kind of keep the same vibe going along. Uh,
Right. Dude, I want a sidebar on that Memphis riverboat cruise so
okay,
bad.
sure.
I want so much about that, but I'll save that for next time I see you in person, and we can actually converse about
It's,
that.
I mean, the riverboat. I will say that the riverboat is something cool. That was something that again I kind of got into it uh, by accident. Just kind of, I guess it's the next domino. Um, because Michelle McDaniel, Lance McDaniel's wife,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, she does a lot of DJ stuff, and she covers a lot of stuff. So what happens is whenever she actually has a couple of events that get booked at the same time, or if her daughter's not available or something and they haven't, she'll call me up and she'll, because I guess when it all started that one day a couple of years ago, she needed a DJ because one of the guys that she normally used couldn't make it, and so she needed somebody that could cover an event that she had double booked. And so she asked Lance if he knew anybody, and um, Lance called Robert, and Robert suggested me, and so then Michelle and I started talking that way, and that's how I started doing that. So yeah, I'll do a couple of those. I mean it's very much a one off and a very much a random thing when I get to go do them, but
Right.
they are usually fun.
Yeah.
Um,
I had just recently heard they were even a thing, like within the last say 3 to 6 months. And yeah, I've
oh
been
yeah,
yeah that yeah. So to hear you say that brought that back up, I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, and going back to your like curating your playlist through the Spotify deal, I used to have a similar tack for like if I just felt like I was in a rut and wanted to find some new music or learn something new to play, uh, I would start like you say, get a hold of album liner notes or whatever you can
mm-hmm.
find that credits all the people that worked on it. But producers, I figured out that like if you're into a certain sound or beat or something,
Okay,
I keyed in on producers were the common thread between a lot of music I liked. That
okay.
that was a revelation for me. I guess I figured that out a few years ago. It's not been real long, but yeah. Then as soon as I figured it out, now we've got all kinds of other great ways to find the stuff you like.
I
So
mean, yeah, it's technology has definitely made it a lot easier. Because yeah, you don't have to. It's a lot easier to find the liner notes, or to look up and try to find those similarities and get the lists, and instead of having to do all the legwork where you actually had to go find the physical copy and read it and make notes or try to remember. But yeah,
I
the
I did
digital age has
ask
helped.
yeah I did want to ask you that earlier as well. During the whole run up to where we are now, what was uh, what was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
um the first album that I ever bought with my own money. New or used?
Just whatever. What the first thing that you were like, man, I want this, and would
Um, Probably, and I bought this used. I had a cousin that had a very, very large music collection, and she decided that she was going to pare down her collection and get rid of a lot of it. And so I had the chance to buy some of her tapes very cheap. Yeah, this was cassette tapes.
okay.
Um, the first album I remember buying from her was Eddie Rabbit's Rabbit Tracks.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm kind of like everybody else. I never dove deep down the rabbit hole, but the uh, I love a rainy night.
Mm-hmm.
The driving my life ways, stuff like that.
Repetitive Regret was another. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about my only familiarity with him. But yeah, that's some good stuff. I I remember mine was I think I was like 8 maybe. I'd I done something for my grandpa. Uh, he's always been an electrician, and I think I rode with him on some side job. He gave me like $5 or $10, and then that weekend I was riding with my dad. We went up to the state line so he could get some beer, and I bought a Garth Brooks cassette tape.
Okay.
I was a Garth Brooks fool growing up, boy. so, uh, as well, like the curating, reading the room thing, like you said, kind of cast a wide net and maybe narrow it down from there to see what people are responding to. But like, oh, I lost my train of thought there. Or how I wanted to ask it. As you're getting it, you try to maintain a high level of energy, or do you try to ride it in a wave?
On sec. So Steel and Stitches is mine was Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby. Mom Maybe Return It. So I got Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation. So obviously she didn't buy that at Walmart, because if you buy it at Walmart and you break the cellophane, they don't accept returns on music.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
I bought my fair share of CDs at Walmart back in the day, but there's nothing wrong with Ice Ice Baby. I mean, they sampled a great song to get the hook, you know.
She got it on the 10 CDs for $1 from Suncoast. Oh, it's a Suncoast music store. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I remember the Columbia House.
Yeah.
Stuff.
There was Columbia House and there was BMG, both about the same time doing the same thing. And I'm surprised either one of those companies stayed in business with them.
Right?
Yeah, we're going to give you 8 or 10 albums for a penny and then expect you to buy 1 to 3 albums over the course of the next 2 years. And
yeah, I couldn't figure that one out either. But I scored some albums that I've still got the CD. They are somewhere in this room that I'm sitting in, like to this day. They're in one of these boxes that I've never unpacked.
Yeah.
But
I believe it.
But anyway, well,
so you were asking about how do I do the?
Yeah. When do you try to like maintain a plateau, or do you kind of just ride with it and go as the crowd goes? Are you? I know you're kind of curating a playlist, but are you trying to drive it somewhere or just let it ride?
I don't generally try to push a playlist in any given direction. I just kind of try to let it flow, and then try to. I usually only think about 3 or 4 songs ahead, and I kind of think about how's the next song going to connect to this one, how's the one after that going to connect to that one, and kind of because I try not to have like any real sharp ups and downs. You know, if you're gonna have like it needs to be more of a gentle rolling slope than uh, occasionally you can get away with it if you're just looking for uh, a like if you want to throw like some romantic slow song in the mix or something like that, you can use those as a good break, and then rebuild like a tempo from that. One thing that I've found is like when it comes to line dance songs, I don't think you should, if you're going to play a line dance song, you should put at least 2 songs before you think about playing the next line dance song. A lot of people will be like, oh yeah, that song was great. Play another one, play another one, play another one. But I guarantee you that, especially because some of those things are 5 and 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
So if you play a line dance song that's a fairly active line dance song, and then you immediately go into a second line dance song that's keeping that same quick tempo and stuff, you're probably going to lose half of your people on the floor before you get halfway through the second song because you just wore them out. I
Yeah.
mean, they're good for 3 to 5 minutes, and after that, they need to get a drink and take a break.
Yeah.
So,
That makes,
definitely, if you can, kind of keep a rolling motion where you're kind of giving them some peaks, some high tempo, high energy, and then kind of roll it back down into something to give them a little bit of breathing room, and then bring them back up there, and then let them go high energy again. Uh,
yeah.
it definitely works to kind of keep. And yeah, there's some people they want to go hard, go all the time. It doesn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work for the majority of people for sure. And I guess I asked that because as we were discussing albums, I realized a lot of my favorite albums and producers through the years from growing up, that was kind of, I think, the hallmark of a lot of the albums that I liked is that they were whiplashers, man. You'd have like
Mm-hmm.
160 beat a minute song, just like double timing and just drummer going crazy, and then like very next song is like a daggum a grave march, and like
Sure.
it seems like all my favorite albums whiplash like that. But then I've never really paid attention to what like DJs and MCs do as far as that goes. Yeah, I would imagine you're not trying to whiplash them too bad, but like you said, the high energy all night thing can't really maintain that, and no nobody wants to. As great as he is, nobody wants to listen to every sad George Jones song all night long.
This is true. I mean, I do like some George Jones, but
Oh, and
I
I could,
mean everything in moderation,
yeah,
even
yeah,
George Jones.
yeah. I can definitely sometime when I'm in the mood for it, throw some George Jones on, sit down, have you a good cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any of y'all tough guys out there getting a good cry in lately? uh, but yeah, that's yeah. As we were, or as I was kind of preparing for that, I realized how little I had ever really kind of thought about. Like, we did the behind the scenes thing for the concert, and I realized that I was just as in the dark about, what it is you actually do back there. And so, uh, do you, well, I don't know how many of them you do, but like, say, if you were doing a wedding or something, obviously that one's pretty request heavy, but like, I'm guessing you have kind of a sack of preloaded playlists. Like if you get the call, oh, I'm doing LA's tonight, or oh, I've got the Eagles tonight. Like I'm guessing you have things that hey, this is probably going to work in this room. Like this, but how pre-planned are you versus how much of it's just off the cuff? Because like me, if I'm going to play an acoustic gig or if I'm playing with a band, like we had the songs that we know on a list,
Mm-hmm.
but 99% likelihood is we're not going to go in order. We're just going to jump around wherever we feel like on the list through the night. Like,
Sure.
yeah, how much of it is improv for you?
Um, Probably about 90% of it.
Nice.
I uh I really, and yeah, weddings are a little different. Well, some weddings are a little different.
Yeah,
Um,
there's more planning.
for weddings, it's some people will say, and I have to give props to Jersey because she has created this wedding um, form that asks all the questions, and so in that form asks, what do you want for your the the
The
pre
first
the
and
preview music, the while we're waiting for everybody to get their stuff, what do you want played then? what do you want for your song? Do you want something to be playing when the groom has been come in? Do you want something for the the flower girls, the bridesmaids? What do you want your wedding march to be? Yeah, she says, now if I could only get people to fill it out. This is true. That sometimes is a challenge in and of itself. Or no, or getting me to get other people to fill it out is sometimes a bigger challenge than getting the other people to fill it out. Um, but and then it's like, do you have any special requests? You have like, father daughter dance, a mother son dance, a garter toss, um, you know, the bouquet toss, uh, like reception music. Do you have anything that you want for there? Any of that kind of stuff. So there can be, I mean, a lot of it can be, prepackaged so that what's going to be A, B, C, and D, and here and there, and all that stuff. Sometimes they're just like, well, I don't know, just play something that's good that sounds like wedding music. So,
Yeah.
um, uh, and and what I like to do for that is actually I store like all the and I'm sure probably everybody does this, like store all the lists of all the stuff you've had to do and all the past ones, and then you just kind of cherry pick what you like the best from all those and create one master, like, this is my wedding mixtape kind of thing. So
And
if
you
I need fill music in for something out, go back to those and just use those. um, and I actually do that a lot on when I'm playing um, a gig somewhere. um, So, like when I'm on the riverboat, Michelle has done a lot of those cruises on the riverboat, so she's very familiar with a lot of the vibe that's there, and so she has a couple of playlists that she has set up of like stuff that they usually like and they usually request. So I'll usually borrow heavily from one of those and start with that, and then kind of see where the night goes from there. If I start getting requests, I add their requests into the mix and I'll start shuffling all of their requests in first. And then maybe I get to the rest of the stuff I had planned. Maybe I don't. Uh, it's the same way at LA's. I have a list that I've curated basically for myself. Um, I'm really frustrated with radios in cars because they don't, I used to have a, uh, I think it was a 78 Oldsmobile Cutlass Calais. And yeah, this was a while back. Yeah.
Hey, dude, my mom
Um,
Oldsmobile when I was a kid, dude. I miss
and
cars.
yeah, but um, it had a button on the radio called scan,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and you could just hit scan and it would just flip through, just start scanning through the dial until it hit a radio station, and then it would play 10 seconds of whatever that was, and then it'd jump to the next one and play 10 seconds of that and then jump to the next one. And I used to listen to that for hours. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I took a trip to Iowa listening to scan FM about three-quarters of the time. I mean, if
Oh,
I heard something that I liked, I'd stop it and then listen to that song, maybe listen to the next couple, and it's like, oh, this is getting boring, let's go see what else is on the radio. um, and I really miss that feature about new cars, because new cars, um, like my car that I've got now, it's got like the tuner controls on the steering wheel, but it only jumps through whatever your favorite presets are. It'll go through your presets and that's it. Um, and you can it doesn't it has on the console it has a seek function, but that'll just take you to the next radio station that it finds and then stops. There's nothing that will do that automatic jump from station to station to station.
hmm.
Um, so I spend a lot of time just like flipping through the stations that I have in my preset list. And as I flip through those, if I'm listening to those or something, and I hear something that's interesting, um, I use my phone and I make a note of it in my phone, and then I go back in and I add it to uh, this curated playlist that I have on Spotify called "It Sounded Good at the Time,"
Yeah.
and
I,
which
I believe I've seen that folder actually.
yeah, and it's got a lot of really random stuff. I mean, I've put stuff in there that people have asked me to play at you know at a club that I was working in or something. It's just wherever I was. If it's like, hey, I like that song, I'm going to go add it to the list.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when I go into LA's, or when I actually, a lot of times it is when I'm out, if I have to take my gear and set it up and I'm doing my sound checks and stuff, I'll turn on that playlist and just set it to random and just start letting it play while I'm setting everything up because, I know I'm going to like it and I don't really care what anybody else thinks at that point in time. Um, and then, it's like the same thing at the Eagles. There's when I go down there, they have a few playlists that I'll sample from that I use for that. I also have, since, you know, usually when I'm playing at the Eagles, it is for their mechanical bull nights.
Okay.
So um, I haven't really created a playlist for this, but I've just got kind of a list that's half in my phone and half in my head of like cowboy, bull riding, rodeo type songs
Yeah.
that I'll play. Um, one of them I'll usually try is the first time, and I really need to. I probably need to actually like go through this and actually just clip it so I can use the sound clip instead of the whole song. But excuse me, I knew that was coming. um, but when the first guy that gets up on the bull that just wants to try to act a little too macho for the vibe, because let's face it, we're just there to have fun, and but then there's that one guy that's always got to be super serious about it.
Yeah, they're going to pass out belt buckles
And
at the end of the night now.
well, I mean, passing out's possible. Belt buckles, I'm not so sure of. Um, but I've always wanted to. Man, don't choke on it. I know it's funny, but um, but I want that clip from Queen. Dun dun dun. Another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
So I'll usually play that in there, a couple of times. So uh yeah, Tainted Love. Call DJ Taint for all your wedding needs. I, not really sure how good of a advertisement that might be.
I do like that. I was actually singing that in my head earlier today. Tainted Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about reading a room and something, trying to control the vibe. That's one thing I do try to do. Like when I'm at LA's and I'm bringing in, there's going to be a band playing and I'm playing the early music. I will try to, as we get closer to time for the band to start, I will try to start slowly ramping up the energy that's in the music and then give something for that last song, give something that's just like really up tempo, high energy, something to get the crowd up, get them excited so that they can be on this peak, and they can have that energy up when I introduce the band and let the band take over so that the band, so that they're already on a, kind of running up on a high when the band gets it. So they get the band has an opportunity to make a great first impression. So
yeah,
I don't want to be in the middle of a George Jones song and then say, all right, guys, we just got done listening to Tear in My Beer. Please give it up for the band. Because then
right.
everybody's going to be like, yay.
Yeah, yeah. I guarantee that they all appreciate it. But yeah, that's I'd never really thought about what was going on at that point because I'm usually
Yeah.
kind of up here doing.
That's part of the reason why I'm like, okay, guys, when do you guys want to start? How many songs do you want? So I know how to plan. You
Yeah,
want 3 more songs? Great. Okay. So I got to go find 3 songs that I can bring up to get you to that point.
yeah, and probably trying to maybe not match, but get in a similar vein as maybe the band's going to be like,
Yeah.
if say Jake and them are playing, you're probably going to be a little more bluesy, southern rocky, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if that Joe Bateman guy's playing, throw some Elton John on or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the vibe.
I mean, Rocket Man is a good one for Joe to come into.
Well, honestly, yeah, because he does like to take off the start. That's for sure. But
I
yeah,
haven't.
it's actually as we were leading up to this the last few days, and the more I would think, like, besides, how did we get where we're at? The more I thought about what questions I wanted to ask you, it would lead me down, like, well, what does a DJ do about this or that, or how are they thinking? And it's kind of cool to get an insight on that, or not kind of. It is really cool to think about that because like I say, from like a band side of it, yeah, there's things you're trying to do, or like we're both after the same thing to entertain a crowd, help them have a good night, a good time.
Right.
But I feel like a band is trying to force their will on a crowd a lot more, where it seems, learning what I've learned now, like you're, like you said, more of a master of ceremonies, kind of the curator, and trying to work with the crowd instead of tell the crowd, hey, get up on my level, like.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's easier for me than it is for a band because, a band has this restriction of what do they know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even so much what do they like. It's they have a restriction of what do they know. Usually, like you said, you go sit down to do something and you've got this list of 30 or 35 songs. These are the songs that you've
This group.
practiced, you've rehearsed, that that you guys can do. And yeah, you may not take that in linear order, but you know that this is what you're constrained to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have that limitation. I have a lot more flexibility that, I can, in the middle of the night, if I might start out the night, doing like a 90s country, and then in the middle of the night I can, take a hard left turn and go into something, like 90s emo music or something,
Yeah.
or just start running like R&B stuff, or
Hip hop,
I
whatever.
don't have to, I've got that flexibility that I can move that fast. And that's really something that, when a band comes, they're coming to bring you a show. They're here to, they
Yeah.
have a performance that they're going to give, and that's what they're doing. So yeah, they are, in a way, um, we're going to go on a ride and we're going to bring you along with us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating because, like, I feel like I feel like you almost need a like a minor in psychology to really be good at it, or maybe not personal, but like kind of crowd psychology, maybe, or at least uh, I don't know quite how to say what I'm trying to say, but it feels like you need a lot better interpersonal skills than somebody like me possesses.
Well, I mean, I just fake it. So, I mean,
Hey, well, that's
mm,
well, I wasn't gonna say anything, but that's uh, but it's really fascinating, and honestly, like I'm really looking forward to next now because like I don't know, now I'm gonna be thinking more about it. So, but thanks for letting me pick your brain on that for sure.
hey, no problem. But yeah, it's like I said, it's fun. It's just something I kind of stumbled into. But and then um, the podcast. This is something that I stumbled into again. So
Yeah.
it just it I just keep tripping and just going with it. So
That,
tripping and not in a fun way.
well, that's kind of, I don't know. I'm just gonna call it flying. Like if you're tripping and stumbling but not falling, I mean,
Yeah.
good enough. That's fly.
And yeah, I've tried a lot of different things. Like there's been times at LA's that I've done um, like guess the theme, where I'll play three songs that don't really seem like they're connected, but there's a connection there. And if you can tell me what the connection is, I'll buy you a drink, something
Yeah,
like that.
it's pretty cool.
Um, You know, sometimes it'll be, you know, 3 songs by the same artist that are just kind of like B-side releases or something.
Oh, okay.
Or like one time, um, there was a right after Elon Musk shot the Tesla into space.
Yeah.
Um, it was like the week after that happened. I came up with a string of songs, and I don't remember. Um, one of them was it was either 3 or 4 songs. One of them was Rocket Man. One of them was Billy Joe Royals "Burned Like a Rocket." Um, I threw some random song from Tesla in there, and I think there was a fourth one, but there was at least those three.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if you can tell me how these 3 songs fit together, I'll buy you a drink, and then just leave them to it. Um, a fun one that I used to do just to really really screw with people is when Uptown Funk was really popular. I do the same thing. I'm like, all right, if you can come up here and tell me who released this song, I'll buy you something to drink. And everybody comes running up. It's Bruno Mars. It's Bruno Mars. Nope, it's not Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is featured on it, but it's not a song by Bruno Mars. So
Right.
it was. And now that I said that, it's like I can't remember the dude's
Robin.
name. Mark Ronson. That's who it was.
Oh, Mark Ronson.
Yeah. So it's like, no, this was released by Mark Ronson. It features Bruno Mars, but it is not on a Bruno Mars album. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned another thing.
yeah,
Now, I remember that song. Honestly, it's kind of one of the more catchy ones.
yeah,
Like, as I get older, like, you know, most of my life I've been like, oh, that's popular. I don't do it. But I remember, like, the first time I heard that song, I was like, all right. but, yeah, man. Uh, yeah, like I said, it's all like, well, I was curious about, just getting to know more about you just because I didn't know. And
sure.
but then the DJ specific stuff, that's also, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
again, I had me on.
So I'll tell you another story. We were talking about Cody Knoll earlier. If you look right over my shoulder here,
Yeah.
you can see this guitar case, this neck of this guitar case back here. I have that because of Cody Knoll. Because one night, um, I was up there and he's like, "Man, you really need to. You should learn how to play guitar." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, kind of. I've been curious. I've wanted to know how to play guitar, but
Yeah.
I've never had the time to do that, and I've never had anybody to teach me." And he's like, "Oh man, if you get a guitar, I'll teach you." I'm like, "Okay." Well, maybe I should have had this conversation with Cody someplace other than LA's, where Fireball, or actually it was Hot Damn, wasn't involved. But I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. So yeah, I went down to the following week after I had this conversation, I went down to All Star Music in Jonesboro because another guy that I know, James Miller, who he used to live here. He used to play with Mr. Happy. Now he lives in Fayetteville or Springdale, somewhere on the west side of the state now, and plays over there a lot. I mean, he was working down there at All Star, and so I walked in and I saw him, and he says, "What can I do for you?" And I'm like, "I want to buy a guitar. I want an acoustic guitar." He's like, "Okay, what kind do you want?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, we've got." It starts, listing. We got this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, and we've got all these. I'm like, he's like, So do you have any ideas what you're looking for? And I'm like, nope. Which one would you buy? And he's like, I like this one. It's like, all right, I need a case to go with it. So James is a pretty, he's a really good guitarist. Um, he's very proficient and has a great amount of skill. I really like to listen to James when he would play. So I figured if that's the one that he would get, that was good enough for me. So yeah, so I have this guitar. I have never learned how to play it.
Yeah.
It's still, I bought this thing 10 years ago and it's still got the original strings on it. That tells you how much it's been played.
Uh, you know, I've done that a few times with this one right back here, where yeah, well, I've had it forever, but yeah, there's been times where it just sat in the case so long that yeah, when I got it back out, it needed some attention before it felt playable.
Sure.
But yeah, it's I remember getting started. Like it's tough to find the time to learn to play guitar. Like if you ain't been doing it since you was a kid or something, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
uh, and I was still a kid. Heck, I was, I guess, 15 first time I picked up a guitar, and like, yeah, it was tough finding the time even then. I can't imagine like nowadays trying to figure out how to do it,
Yeah. It's,
because I can even remember the stuff that I supposedly do know. So it's yeah, but I will say if I ever get more time, I could probably show you at least how to grip a couple chords.
all right.
Get you through a G, C, and D. Heck, that'll knock out so many songs. Heck, 3 chords. That knocks out a bunch of songs. But anyway, so what is the? I know you said it's before we got started. July is going to be pretty busy for other reasons, but how how busy is the rest of DJ Tank's year?
Um, you're supposed to wait until after the joke. Um, I really don't know. Like I said, I may have a DJ gig coming up at the end of July. I haven't heard yet. There's the Eagles is talking about having the bull come back. Uh, have the mechanical bull sometime in the month of July. Um, and if it's the last weekend in July, I'll be able to DJ. They're looking at the last 2 weeks is what they're probably looking at, either the 20th or the 27th. I'm not going to be available the 20th, but if it's the 27th, I'll do that. Um, other than that, in I've got a wedding booked in October, um, and that's as far as DJ stuff. That's all I've got on my calendar right now.
Oh wow!
So
Okay.
um, it's been a couple of months since I've been up at LA's. Uh, they needed to take a slight change of direction, and I was kind of like trying to navigate through that with them, and so yeah, it just worked out that, and there's no bad blood, no bad feelings, or anything like that. I'd go back and I'd cover a weekend for them if they wanted to me, if they called me. It was just a good time for me to step back and take a break from being there for a while while they were working on some other stuff. So,
Good.
but yeah, Robert and I are still friends, and
Yeah.
what I'll be able to play Nickelback. Oh, whoops. Oh yeah, you'll be able to play Nickelback. Yes, at the wedding coming up in
Oh, yeah.
October, I will be able to play Nickelback.
Yeah.
So
Got some Nickelback fans, huh? Well, I guess honestly, that's about all the questions I had come up with so far.
Okay, that's fine. We can always do this again sometime if you think of some more questions.
Okay, hey,
So,
right, yeah, yeah. I'll if I can get another batch together that'll fill up some time, yeah, I'd love to come back. That's
oh,
fun.
when you teach me those three chords, then I can play Nickelback. I was going to play it at the wedding. I can
Oh,
do both.
okay. I got yeah, yeah. Uh, man, well, I don't guess so. I could just show you the chords. It wouldn't necessarily require me learning any Nickelback. No, no, no. I make the jokes like a lot of people do,
Oh,
but
sure.
they're fine. I mean, honestly, if you listen to them, that like they were pretty heavy back in the day. Like when they were new on the scene compared to the other stuff that was out there.
Yeah.
Like their lyrics might have been cheesy for or whatever for 2000s alternative rock, but dude, those guitars got some tone, man. Or I like it. I like the distortion tone anyway. But yeah, they're not bad at all. But yeah.
All right. Well, um, if that's all the questions you got, then we can start talking about bands. And like I said, like we did last time, if you want to hang out and comment on some of these artists and groups and stuff, you can do that. Or if you need to, I realize it's 10 o'clock. If you need to,
No, I'm good tonight, man.
okay.
I wanted to last time, but that we, I kind of got caught out in a weird spot. We scheduled to do the show, and then I went to work in that aviation company, and that first week was rough.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, and I told you this in the messages we were sending back and forth. I mean, you got to make money when you got a chance to make money. We can always reschedule this for later.
Yeah.
This ain't making either one of us any money, but we're just having fun doing it.
Hey, that's the part I like. It's always nice hanging out. So.
All right, so let me pull this up on the stage. All right, so like I said, I told you this before we went live tonight, but yeah, I break this down into three different sets. First, we talk about the artists, then we talk about the venues that are hosting those artists, and then we talk about um, we talk about the artists, then we talk about the venues. And I don't know why I keep getting venues and events switched, but yeah, artists, then venues, then events. We'll end up with events tonight. Um, and yes, I did tell you that yeah, there are 87 slides in this slide deck, but we're not going to go through all 87. We're only going to touch on about 32 of them. So
Oh
if
man.
you, well, I mean, I can show you the rest of them, but most of the rest of them are people that just don't have anything going on in the local area. So
Yeah.
when I look at the time frame that I talk about now, events are a little different because events I'll talk about more in advance.
Right.
Um, but when it comes with like local music, I usually try to focus this on what's going on this weekend and next week. So um, you know, basically, for this week, I would be looking at events that are, stuff that's going to be going on from June 27th through July 6th. That gives me, this weekend and next weekend, and all the stuff that happens the rest of this week, and then anytime next week. So in theory, that should give you a half a week's worth of overlap every week, and then one new week every week. So if you're following this, you'll have you'll see half the stuff that I talk about this week, you'll hear next week, and then there will be new stuff after that, and it just kind of will
Yeah.
continue to stair step down like that. So anyway, first up in the artists, we have the Brewster and Co band. They've got a couple of things going on this week. Friday, June 28th, they're going to be at Wilson Cafe. And then Saturday, June 29th, they're going to be at Stumpy's Backyard Barbecue. Have you been to Stumpy's?
I have not. Uh, there's that one place like right off, like it's basically right under an overpass, and that's about the only barbecue place I've ever even seen in Marion.
Oh, okay. I
And
was
you
just
just right on.
well, I mean, yeah, I get that too. But now I've seen just doing this, I've noticed there's three or four of the people that I have that I follow that play seem to play at Stumpy's on a fairly regular basis. So I was just kind of curious if you'd been there, if you knew anything about that. So
Not
um,
yet, but I might have to start looking into it.
okay, the Eric Edwards Trio is going to be at Skinny J's in Paragould. Um, well, not June 21st. That was last week, but forgot to edit that one out. But they will be at Main Street Pizza this Saturday, June 29th.
Cool, cool. Now I do know Main Street Pizza. Unfortunately, the Eric Edwards trio I have not got to see live. Same with Brewster and Co. there, but uh, Main Street Pizza is good. So if you're in Walnut Ridge, like it's uh it's worth checking out for
I,
sure.
I think I
But
ate. I
yeah,
used to work in Walnut Ridge, so I think I ate at Main Street Pizza a couple of times, probably, but never. For some reason, at noon they don't ever have any music in there.
yeah.
I don't know why. The Eric Edwards Trio is also going to be at J Town's Grill on July 5th. And
Another
on July 6th, they'll be at Skinny J's in Paragould. So there's several opportunities to see the Eric Edwards Trio around the area. I mean, they're going to kind of be all over the place. They're Walnut Ridge, Jonesboro, Paragould.
Yeah, I may have to go check that out. Maybe at J Towns. I haven't.
I
Uh,
haven't been at J Towns in years.
yeah, I haven't ate there since. Like they gave me a cheeseburger and fries for lunch one day. Like, uh, I did the plumbing on that place,
Oh,
so
okay.
I've never been there since they've like officially opened, and that's been
Oh, okay.
years.
That's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Jones is going to be at Skinny J's in Jonesboro, not to be confused with Skinny J's in Paragould, but he'll be at Skinny J's in Jonesboro tomorrow, and then J Town's Grill on Friday and Wilson Cafe on Saturday.
So busy, busy man.
Yeah, John is one of those guys though that he only publishes his schedule a month in advance. That's why I have no idea what he's doing next week because
I
he doesn't have his July schedule posted yet. So I'll
got you.
kind of have to wait until probably next Tuesday or something before I'll actually see what his July schedule looks at. So I'll know what to tell everybody he's going to be doing in the month of July. Jake Lung, the man, the myth, the legend, is going to be at the Marked Bar and Grill on June 28th. And then on July 4th, he'll be at Skinny J's in Paragould. Now, this is just uh, Jake Long, the solo act, not to be confused with the Jake Long band, because the full band will be at Lake City Community Fest this Saturday, June 29th at 11 a.m. And then later on that same day, they're going to be at LA Nights. Next week, July 3rd, he'll be at the Cherokee Casino. And if you're wondering where that one is, that one's not super close because that one's over in
So West Siloam.
Choctaw, Oklahoma.
Oh, it's in Choctaw. A
I
little.
think is where it's at. Um, and then, but July 6th, he'll be back at Forest Roots.
Oh, Jake. Very, very talented. And that is going to be a busy 29th for him, Mr. Brett, and Mr. Kevin.
Yep.
But I'm sure everybody that's going to see this is very well aware. But if not, go check him out. Like, man, Jake's good. And apparently a decent luthier.
Yeah. Jake is, I mean, I really like Jake. I'll make no apologies for that at all. I think he's a great musician. Um, I've had the opportunity to have a front row seat to watch him develop. Um, because, when he first started playing, when he first started doing, acoustic gigs and stuff like that, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, however long it was, one of the early places that he would go in and play was at LA's. So I got to see him then. I got to see him when he was just first starting to kind of, you know, move
Yeah.
into that and try to do, be a musician, and as a more than just a hobby in a basement kind of thing. And
Right.
then I can still remember that, but and I can see how he's developed, how his musicianship has gotten better, his showmanship is better, how he just continues to grow and excel. And it's been really really cool to be able to watch and see that growth and that transformation over time.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he is even more talented than I realized, I guess, because I guess I did meet him shortly after. I guess maybe right at 4 years ago.
okay.
So I I would have never guessed he'd only been playing maybe 2 years at the point that I met him. Or not like only playing 2 years, but only performing publicly. You know what I mean? Like, shoot, I thought it was pretty polished first time I saw him.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was a little, or maybe more than a little, rough around the edges the first couple of times. But I mean, it's definitely had some raw talent that he's managed to polish and refine into. Yeah, he's super good at it. I
Yeah.
like to introduce him whenever he's playing at LA's and I'm going to be there. I like to introduce him as he may look like Chris Stapleton, but he sounds a whole lot better.
Yeah,
So
fair assessment, honestly.
yeah, um, I've I'm not. I mean, I say that, but I'm not a big fan of Chris Stapleton. I'm really not.
Uh,
And I know he's had a couple of songs like his song "Broken Halos." I
yeah,
like that song, and he's done a couple of songs that are good. I just we were talking about George Jones earlier, and just was not a super fan. I mean, really, when hearing him do that cover of George, I was like,
yeah,
you need to put the guitar down and pick up the pencil and go back to writing because this ain't it. So that
yeah,
was definitely not a fan of that.
yeah. I didn't care for that cover myself, but uh, it's hey, people are gonna do some stuff sometimes. But
Sure.
I, I'm I'm kind of in the same boat. Um, I'm okay with his solo Nashville stuff. It's fine. It's very well produced. He's a good writer and stuff. But to me, he's just the guy with the funny cowboy hat from the Steel Drivers. He was the singer guitar player for like my third favorite bluegrass band. So
Okay.
uh, yeah, I started hearing him on the radio, and I think it was maybe Traveler or something. One of his first singles as a solo artist, and somebody I heard him and I was like, "What the heck, man? That sounds like the guy from the Steel Drivers." And so I actually took the time to finally Google the Steel Drivers. Well, I'll be damned.
It was that guy from the Steel Drivers?
But yeah,
Let's see what we got next. Hank Nightshade. Um, Hank Nightshade has. I don't know if you've had a chance to see Hank or not.
not a
Uh, Hank is a pretty. Um, it's one of the probably the one of the newer guys that I don't want to say discovered. I didn't discover him, but he's one of the newer people that I've heard play, um, or the more recent people that I've heard play as far as new bands and stuff. He's recently put together this group, Hank Nightshade and the Midnight Suns, and they are going to be doing something live on 105 The Eagle between 6 and 6:30 Friday, June 28th. So uh, they do. I mean, you can hear from the Eagles. Is 105 The Eagle, 105 The Eagle. It's going to be probably something with a kind of a classic rock vibe to it. and that's kind of what they're looking at. They're going to do like some classic rock, some kind of old school country, and maybe a little red dirt mixed in there too, and they're going to kind of go for that vibe for their and they're working on putting something. So first chance to hear their single sometime Friday night between 6 and 6:30 on 100.5 The Eagle.
Sweet, sweet.
So I may see if I can do that. Depends on where I'm going to be between 6 and 6:30 on Friday afternoon, which is still at this moment a little bit up in the air.
Yeah.
But then the very next day, Hank Nightshade is going to be super busy. So not only is they going to be having that release on Friday night, on Saturday, he's going to be at Juniper Tree Meadery with special guest Madison Mothershed. And he'll be at their Saturday, June 29th from 6 to 9 p.m. And have you been to the meadery here in Paragould?
I was going to ask if that was the one on 358. I'm not actually.
It is, yes.
But yeah, I used to live right over off Rockinshire, so I've passed it many, many times.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually.
If you get a chance, I highly recommend it. It's just a super fun. It's a great little place. It's just a place to go sit and chill. You can take a couple of friends there. They have, some snacks and stuff like that, and you can get a flight to try several of their different their honey wines, or they've actually got some brewed honey drinks as well that are. It's all mead, but some of it's more of a wine style mead, and some of it's more of a beer style mead. So, but yeah, they have a couple of different things, and I think it's just a fun place just to go, like, just chill and relax and hang out for a little while. So, yeah,
I've wanted to check it out. Ever taken the opportunity?
Yeah, I highly recommend it. And if you decide you're going to do that, you should holler at me, and I'll just meet you over there because
10-4.
I think I probably live about as far away as you used to live.
Yeah, I got you.
So. But Hank is going to be pretty busy because he's going to be in Paragould at Juniper Tree from 6 to 9. And then Ridge Runoff is going to be at the Brick House from 10 to 2. And they're going to have Hank Nightshade as a special guest. That means he's going to have to boogie to get from Juniper Tree to the Brick House. He's only got an hour to break down and set up. So
I was going to say, hope he's got a decent guitar tech or sound guy to help him out.
Right. Joe Bateman. I know that guy. He's going to be at Tio's on Friday night.
Right on. That one's always a good time. Well, that last time I was on, and we were talking about different rooms sounding different, and Brett said gotta love the repurposed barn tin, and yeah, Tio's one of those places where concrete floor, metal ceiling, and so like it's not really a problem to make it sound good, but sometimes it gets to be a little adventure.
Yeah.
I think if the guitar's feeling a little spunky that day, or maybe if the humidity's just right or wrong, I don't know. But sometimes that room will try to fight you.
I can imagine. And Brandy Lee is going to be at the Rec Room on June 29th, this coming Saturday. And then July 5th, which is next Friday, she'll be at the Laredo Smokehouse and Grill.
Very talented picker and singer. I have had the pleasure to mix on stages she has played at Local Fest the last couple of years. I think 3 sets of hers I've mixed, and thoroughly enjoyed every one of them. So that's she's one to go watch for sure.
I've not had a chance to hear her or see her yet, so I may have to check out the schedule. I know Jersey's planning on taking Steel and Stitches to Local Fest, so we'll be there. It'll just be a question of how much free time we have and how much roaming around that that I
Yeah,
can sneak out and go do. So
yeah, and the proximity to where they have y'all and where the stages are, because no telling what Lucas got dreamed up this year.
right.
He's a
Um,
teamer, but I like it.
I would honestly be pretty okay if we got the same spot we had last year.
I had
We
one.
were sitting up in the street right in front of Skinny J's, and it was Eleanor's then. It's not Eleanor's anymore, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
we were all the way down at the end of Main Street. We were the last booth.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's too bad because really you only get that like 10:30 to 1:30 window where you're just really in the direct sun.
yeah,
The rest of
it
the days.
was it was nice because there was a decent amount. There was decent foot traffic. There was lots of people walking around it, um, but we weren't um, like down right next to the stage where you really can't hear anything.
Yeah,
So
the main stage is rough. I know they do all they can to mitigate the bleed over, but yeah, there's only so
yeah.
much. Like yeah,
Well, I remember I think it was it Trauma Hogs and or maybe it wasn't Trauma Hogs. There was a barbecue place and the Spice Girls were both set up on the back of at the
oh
far side of the lot from where the stage was. So
yeah,
there was, I mean, when the band starts playing, it's like you're sitting there, you're at the window and you're screaming at them so you can try to place your order for food. So
yeah. But we had a similar issue at Hunting Square last
okay,
year. Not again, not any poor planning. It's just proximity. Like there's only
right.
so much acreage. But yeah, yeah, it can definitely get a bit after 2 full days of it. It can start wearing on you.
Oh yeah, I bet. Jet and the Organization. This is a band that I haven't heard play, but I know several of the guys that are in the band. So they're going to be at Whiskey Ken's Levy Lounge this Saturday, June 29th. And then they will be at the Independence Day celebration in Piggott on Wednesday, July 4th.
Right on. Now, Whiskey Ken's is that over in Carruthersville?
Uh, yes.
Now, did that used to
It,
be a different bar?
the Levy, or no, it used to be yes, it did used to be a different name.
Did it
Um,
was it the showcase like right out there close to the
no, it wasn't the showcase. Give me a second. I might be able to tell you what the name of it was. Let me look real quick. See if so. It's a
because I've been hearing about the place, and like I say, if it's a place that had been established, I didn't really know much about it, and I've never seen it over there, which I've not spent just a terribly long time in Carruthersville, but
it was. It can't have been that long ago, was it? Oh wait, that's the. Um, oh, so I know that Jake Long uh, had played there. He was the so I was like hoping I'd like see the name and it would jump out at me. So
yeah, I'm trying to.
I think it was the Hideaway.
Okay, right in the middle of town. Yeah,
Yeah,
right as you said that, it came to me the hideaway, which makes sense because that is a lot closer to the levee.
yeah. So yeah, it was the yeah. Sometime around the end of January, they changed their
Oh,
name
oh, very.
from the
Oh,
Hideaway to Whiskey Ken's. Um, actually January 19th was supposed to be um, their final bash blowout under the name The Hideaway.
I,
It turned out that they actually didn't get reopened under the new name for about another 2 weeks after that. But yeah, Jake Long played that show the 19th of January, and that was supposed to be their goodbye bash for that.
right on, right on.
So the band trip is going to be at I forgot to put a date on this, but I think that's this weekend at
Oh, you're correct.
Bricks in Rock the Country. It's the tour is a Rock the Country tour. At
Right.
they'll be at the Bricks Off Road Park.
Now, I could say a lot about this one. So, Trip is amazing. Like, holy crap, go see them. Rock the Country, don't know. Like, I know it's a lot of very, very, very popular artists, so sure to be great. It's a festival, so like
Right.
cool atmosphere, whatever. If you're into that sort of thing, uh, Bricks Off Road Park, cool place to play. Like, really awesome place to play. Uh, like, it is cool as crap. Just walking around, setting up your stage, and just anywhere you look, there's a really, really cool 4-wheel drive out there. Like, and Bricks is an awesome place to go to
Okay.
that, except for the dust. um,
Well, I can kind of imagine it's an
yeah,
off road park. And there's lots of four wheelers. It's probably going to be a little
yeah.
dusty
So as far
or
as
a
your
little muddy, one or the other.
yeah, so as far as your speakers, instruments, and anything else you bring with you, go ahead and vacuum seal that in something before
You
you get
take
the
you take
truck.
black gear and you take black gear there and bring red gear home.
Yeah, yeah. I believe after we unhooked all our equipment at Briggs, took it home, took the air compressor with a wand to all of it, blew it out, and then I think the next time we plugged it in at like LA's or wherever it was, first time the speakers hit, just clouded the whole place. No, it was very, but Bricks is super cool. Trip is super awesome. I would highly recommend both of those things.
They're going to be in Paragould the first part of August. I think they're going to actually be playing a show at the Collins Theater.
Oh, sweet.
It's going to be
I'm going to have to get on their page and check that out.
let's see. It's on their events. They are going to be yeah Saturday, August 3rd. They're going to be live at the Collins Theater, and I want to say that tickets for that are only like $15 a piece.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Um, Nobody buy those. It's going to be an awful show. I wouldn't waste my time until I have on a ticket. Then do what you want.
So what you're saying is like payday is next Friday, so they're a terrible band until next Saturday.
Yeah. I wouldn't even worry about that. But,
Drive South is going to be at Skinny J's this Friday.
right on.
Saw her up at the farmers market a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right, and that was it for our artist list. And then next is we have the venues. These are some of the locations that provide a spot and an opportunity. I usually, and I say this a lot, that we're almost in this area. We're almost spoiled because there is just an overwhelming amount of really great talent, musical talent in like 50 miles from just draw a circle. And if you can't find some good music within 50 miles of whatever that circle is that you drew, you're not trying very hard.
No.
Or you might be trying hard to not find anything. Probably would be a better thing to say. But all of the musicians still need a place to play, and we thankfully have a lot of venues that do provide a space and an opportunity for local musicians to play, and that's appreciated as well. So here's a couple of the venues that have things coming up over the course of the next couple of weeks. Um, Saturday night, the Jake Long Band, when we were talking about them earlier, they will be at LA Nights. playing. LA's is that's kind of been one of their things, from the very start, is they want to be a place that showcases live local music. And at times it's been interesting because um, it's been a point where that people have complained about that. Sometimes you get, we're tired of hearing bands, we want to just have the DJ play. That's, I'd heard that before. And I can understand and appreciate both sides of that. Yeah, there are nights that, yeah, I just want to listen to a band. I just want to go and chill and listen to some good music. But yeah, there's other nights that you want to have that flexibility where you want to be able to just have a DJ playing all of your
Yeah,
favorites, and or
the
do like a '90s theme night, or an emo night, or a glow party, or whatever. So,
where the
but
music fine, but you don't want to feel it in your chest with those big subwoofers.
right,
I get the same thing, man. There's sometimes I'm setting up for a show and I'm like, well, I just really ain't feeling it tonight.
yeah, and it's hard when you're the one that's playing, that you got to feel it whether you feel it or not. So and that can get kind of rough. I mean that's I struggle with that. There's nights when I come in and I'm just like, I can't hear any music. I don't know. I can't feel anything. I don't know what I'm supposed to play next.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so and I can imagine as a performer, up on the stage, that's got to be, because if you don't believe it, nobody in the audience is going to believe it either. So you got to bring your A game every time, whether you're feeling it or not.
Yeah, like you said earlier, just fake it till you make it.
Right. We mentioned Skinny J's a little bit. So Skinny J's in Paragould is going to be having Drive South this Friday, June 28th. June 29th, and Joey Evans is going to be at Skinny J's. I haven't
uh,
heard Joey Evans play either.
yeah, I'm not familiar with him. I believe this is the first time I've heard his name, to be honest.
Okay.
So I'm that's another one I got to give a Google here in a while
Yeah.
and see what he's got out there.
Right. Next weekend, you got Jake Long on July 4th at Skinny J's in Paragould. And the Eric Edwards Trio will be next Saturday, July 6th.
Right.
This Friday, Ben Brand will be at Upper Crust Pizza. I He's started popping up again, which is really kind of weird because I hadn't seen or heard anything out of Ben for 5 years. I don't know. It's just like he just like fell off of the planet or something for a while,
Huh.
and then just recently has started popping back up again. So,
Well,
uh,
he dipped out about the time I was breaking into the scene,
yeah,
so that'll be hope I get a chance to check him out one of these days.
yeah, he's a
Always
pretty
like about someone I hadn't heard about before.
yeah he's a pretty decent musician. Um, I'll just leave it at that. He is a decent musician. Uh, I know that he had some stuff he had to deal with, and I don't know if that's why he's been disappeared for a while, or life happens, because that happens to everybody.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, yeah, when he plays, he does play very well.
cool.
Skinny J's in Jonesboro is
God.
going to be having John Jones tomorrow night, June 27th. This Friday, June 28th, the Collins Theater is going to host Railway Rhythm.
Hmm.
And I think this is another one in their bluegrass series. I'm really not sure. I'm not sure what Railway Rhythm is. It just sounds like it ought to be a bluegrass band.
Yeah, it does. I've not heard of them. I was so upset that I had to miss that Cleverly show at the Collins.
Oh yeah,
I love the
was that
Cleverly.
last week?
I think so.
Last Saturday, last Friday, Saturday, the 22nd, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I remember way back in the day, a band called Iron Horse put out an album of bluegrass covers of Metallica songs.
Okay.
That's what broke me into that kind of genre. Uh, well, I liked bluegrass, but then I was like, wait, you can just sing rock lyrics over a banjo roll? Like, what? Nobody told me that. And, but yeah, then, years later, found the Cleverleys, and yeah. I love the Collins Theater too. That place is great. But I was pretty upset I wasn't able to make that one.
Well, we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but the Big Grass Bluegrass Festival is coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Edwards Trio is going to be at Main Street Pizza on the 29th. That'll be this coming Saturday. This is interesting. The only place I've seen has a $3 cover.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell on my phone screen if that was 3 or 8,
Yeah,
but yeah.
no, $3 cover at Main Street Pizza. And then we mentioned this one earlier, but Juniper Tree Meadery is going to have a Hank Nightshade live on June 29th, this Saturday from 6 to 9 p.m. That's it for the venues that I know of that are hosting people. Now the way, and I will kind of preface this to say, this is the way I choose what gets included in the venue list.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking for all the slides to fill in, I go visit the artist, and if the artist has something published about the a place that they're playing, I put that under the artist. Here's artist, this is place they're playing, and then I go to all of the venues. For example, like Juniper Tree, because I went to Hank Nightshade's page and I saw Hank Nightshade is going to be playing at Juniper Tree. So under artist, I put Hank Nightshade playing at Juniper Tree. And then when I go to the Juniper Tree's Facebook page, I see, Juniper Tree, Hank Nightshade is going to be at Juniper Tree. So then Juniper Tree gets Hank Nightshade under the venues.
Yeah.
But I don't just automatically put somebody in the venue list just because the artist said they were going to be there. So
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, can I plug one artist and venue too?
Sure.
On Saturday, what is Saturday, the 28th or 29th?
The
29th. At the Embassy, Embassy Suites or whatever in Jones, Aaron Headley is doing an acoustic set, and I will probably make a small guest spot during that show. I had to replace his water heater last week, and he was telling me, "Hey, I've got a show coming up. You should come out and play a few." So I may do that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let me. All right. There is the.
I'm pretty sure it's.
Yep.
Yeah, it's this one. Yeah.
Here's Yep, that's it. Aaron Headley live in the lobby Saturday, June 29th at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah, I knew they called it something. I could not remember for the life of me what they called their acoustic shows in there.
I remember seeing that name come up a couple times, live in the lobby, and I'd seen a couple people that said that they were going to be playing there, and I'm like, live in the lobby? What lobby? And it took me a little bit to figure out. Oh, you're talking about the Embassy Suites lobby. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now I know where. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, you kind of walk in and then you make that right, like you're going to go
to the Hula.
to turn to go into Houlihan's, and there's that kind of. It's almost like back in a little pocket there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cozy. That's for sure. I've only been there like 2, maybe 3 times. But yeah, it's a neat little spot. It's another one of those rooms that's deceptive. You walk in and it's a big cavern, but it swallows sound up pretty good. Like, it's not real hard to deal with, honestly.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
The Embassy Suites is the side of my biggest embarrassment as a DJ.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, here. Well, let me minimize this. We'll come back to that in a second. But let me tell you a real. Let me tell you a horrible story. Um, so, uh, and it was a learning experience. Unfortunately, some of the best lessons come from the worst experiences. Um, so it was. I got asked to do a Christmas party, and this was the embassy wasn't even officially fully open yet, and so but they it wasn't really under construction. It was construction was pretty much finished except for but they weren't they didn't have like things like the guest Wi-Fi up yet, and
Yeah.
I don't think at that time I don't think they were actually renting any rooms yet, but they had like the entertainment rooms and stuff. You could rent out the different rooms and stuff for or the convention center part of it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I got asked to do a Christmas party at a couple of, well, this was back before COVID, so that tells you how long ago it was. It doesn't really feel like it was that long, but yeah, it really was that long ago. Yeah, so I got asked to do this Christmas party, and I went and I set up, got all my gear set up, started playing. I was about 30, 45 minutes into the evening, and my laptop decided it was going to apply Windows updates.
Damn.
You can't stop that.
Yeah,
All you can do is sit there and look at that blue screen and watch that stupid little spinning circle. And it was bad.
Yeah,
It was so the only thing that I could do to try to get any music, because that's like, was I took one of my microphones and Jersey turned on Spotify on her phone and started playing my playlist on her phone and held the microphone up to the speaker on her phone. That was the only way for about 20, 25 minutes, maybe. I don't know how. I mean, it seemed like it was about 7 forevers. But
oh
yeah, the whole time my laptop is sitting there running Windows updates, we're trying to play music off of a telephone speaker through a microphone.
oh
So that show it was so bad. I went up to the guy in the middle of the night. I went up to the guy that hired me and I said, "Listen, we've got to talk about my pay for tonight." And he says, "What?" And I say, "I owe you money." I say, "I will give you the whole check back right now because this is not the show that I bring. I am so embarrassed that this happened. I feel absolutely terrible about it." So he didn't let me give him the check back, but I felt I literally felt 2 inches
yeah.
tall. So that was the absolute worst. I mean, I still cringe when I think about that. But since then, I mean, like I said, that is one of those things. So, after that happened, it was, well, how can I keep this from happening again? What other options can I have? So then I started including um, like a couple extra cables so I could do um, like 1/4 inch to
Yeah.
3.5 millimeters, so I could at least jack straight into her phone. I had an adapter in there so I could go 3.5 to lightning, so I could plug it into my phone,
Yeah.
which now I need to get a different adapter because now my phone is USB C.
Yeah, yeah.
And so is Jersey. So yeah, now I really need to do like probably a USB C to USB uh, B2 or 2B, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got a USB jack in my mixer board, so I can plug
Oh,
into that.
uh,
But I don't want to just rely on that USB cable, so I really need to have something so I can go quarter inch to somehow or another adapt it down to a USB C, or 1/4 inch to 3.5, three and a half to USB C, something like that. So I've
well,
got I want to have at least 2 different methods for being able to get sound into the board. Um, So really, at that point in time, my single point of failure becomes the mixer because that's the only thing that I don't have redundancy for. I have redundancy as far as microphones. I have redundancy as far as cables. I have redundancy for power. I have redundancy for methods to get music into the mixer. I have methods, redundant methods for music. The only thing I don't have is, I don't carry two mixers with me because that's just
which who does?
if
You're on tour
if
with multiple 18 wheelers. Who has a spare console?
I think if worse came to worse, I think because I use powered speakers, I use Mackie powered speakers. Um,
Yeah.
I think I can quarter inch into the speaker. And if I can do that, then I can out from one speaker to the other speaker. And if I have to plug my laptop directly into the speaker, I can do that. And I could probably, it wouldn't sound great
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have the ability to mix it, or I'd very little limited abilities to EQ anything, but
Yeah.
it would be better than nothing if I had a fried mixer that night.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're basically just passing along what the mix engineer gave you. It's just gone through whatever compression the computer
Yeah.
just throw on. So, like you said, not a lot of options, but it will be serviceable.
It would be yeah.
It's
At that
those.
point in time, you're MacGyvering stuff together anyway. So whatever
Yeah,
you come up with is better than just hanging your head and crying.
yeah, and like you said, it's those moments and spots like that where, uh, like a well prepared DJ or a well prepared sound guy is only that well prepared guy because those moments that we've had like that, like your laptop updating, or I forget where we were even going, but it was a long way away. Oh, Hideaway Lounge. That's where we were. I got all the way over there with no key to the trailer for a full band show.
It's
And
time to either go find a crowbar or an angle grinder.
yeah, we walked up to the bar, hollered out. It was like, does anybody here have a grinder? And one guy, he popped up, said, well, I only live about 2 miles away. I got one. So that guy saved the show that night.
I mean, that's harsh, but hey, I'm really glad there was a guy with an angle grinder 2 miles away.
Yep. And that, like I said, that's the reason I'm well prepared today. Do I carry spare keys? No. Did I change my lock styles? No. But do I always have a battery powered grinder on me?
Yeah,
Bet you.
it's a skeleton key. All right, back to events. Let's see. June 29th is going to be the Lake City Community Fest.
Oh, nice.
Griff the Drifter, the Jake Lung Band, the Reminders, Soulshine, and Greasy Tree are going to be in your musical entertainment for the day. And by the way, here's the complete list of events. They're going to start Saturday morning at 9 o'clock with their welcome prayer and national anthem. And then they're going to have stuff going on all day. You've got G-Force, then you got Griff the Drifter. Jake Lung will be playing at 11. They're going to have car show awards, Soulshine, potato sack races, the Reminders, pageant queens, Greasy Tree. They're going to be a 50-50 drawing, and then the ultimate summer setup giveaway. So I checked out this ultimate summer setup, and that's a pretty sweet deal that they're giving away. They're not giving away raffle tickets, but they're selling raffle tickets for. Like tent, grilling and stuff. It's just basically what you need for like a weekend at the lake kind of thing, just all in a box. So
Nice.
and then they're going to cap the evening off at 9 o'clock with fireworks. So if
There.
you're in and around the Lake City area looking for something to do, there ought to be. Oh yeah, and apparently door prizes every hour on the hour, beginning at 11. So
Oh, I was there a couple years ago. Community Fest pretty good. I had a really good time that day. And there's another name on that list to watch out for or go see. Griff is very, very talented young man. Um, uh, I, I've thoroughly enjoyed watching him
I
progress
have I
better.
have seen I've seen him come across a couple of different things, and I've tried to follow him, but I haven't been able to really and I guess part of that is because he is pretty young,
Yeah.
um, and so he doesn't play a lot, he doesn't play often, and and it's there's usually very little advance notice when he is going to be playing somewhere. There's not a lot of notification or publication. He was at
They're they're well very well, he's pretty good athlete what I hear. So I'm sure he stays busy with that. And they are a rodeo family as well. So I'm sure
okay.
he keeps them on the road. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun to like, meet Griff and watch him progress and stuff. He's
Okay.
he's come a long way just in a very short time I've
Yeah.
known him.
I think he first popped up on my radar when he was playing at I think it was Upper Crust about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Was the first time he popped up and I'd heard of him. So yeah. We were talking about this a little bit ago, but the Big Grass Bluegrass Festival is going to be taking place in just about 3 weeks. July 19th and 20th at the Collins Theater. There's going to be three different shows. There will be one show Friday night, July 19th at 7 p.m. And then there will be a Saturday afternoon show at 1 p.m. And then a completely different show Saturday evening at July 20th at 7 p.m.
Right on.
And yes, those pictures and that writing is very small.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
studying
yeah,
that.
there's, I can't see that on my screen. I know there's no way you can see that on yours.
Hold
But
on.
give me just a second.
Let me try this. No, no.
Well, it just so happens that I have the Collins Theater Facebook page pulled up over here. So, all right. So here it is Friday, July 19th. The Dillards and the Punches will be the Friday night show at 7 p.m. The 1 p.m. show on Saturday will be Sillamore Special, the Casey Penn Band, and the Pam Setzer Band. Saturday evening at 7 p.m. to wind up the event will be Daly and Vincent and No Time Flat.
All right. Uh, when you get a chance, go back and watch this thing, and I just I caught a glimpse of myself. Just see what my eyes do whenever you mention Daly and Vincent.
All right.
Oh my god! Uh,
So I guess we'll see you in town here in a couple of weeks.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope my schedule permits that.
All right. Local Fest 5 is coming up. This is going to be middle of September, September 13th and 14th, which it might sound kind of weird to be talking about something going on in September when it's only June, but I promise September is only about 2 weeks away. I base that on the fact that about 2 weeks ago it was Christmas time. So, uh, but yeah, there's a pretty big lineup for Local Fest. I'm not even going to attempt uh, to uh, to read all of those. There are several of these bands that I recognize, and there's several that I don't. Um, Native Strangers is one I recognize. Oh, there's some crazy dude, Joe Bateman, the 870 Boys. I think I know who that is.
There's
Uh,
some real pretentious prick down there trying to change his name so that it's not misspelled for the third time in a row. Called himself Damian Holt.
oh,
Went by his middle name.
okay. See, the funny thing is I thought you were talking about Corey Jackson.
Oh no, that's I I actually told him this year, like, yeah, you can put my name on the list or on the bill thing or whatever. But yeah, I told him just change it this year. That way they don't misspell it again.
Well, see, the reason why I said Corey Jackson, the funny thing about that is that one of the bands that used to play at LA's fairly regularly was Cinder Block. And the drummer for Cinder Block is a guy named Corey Jackson who also plays, I think he plays bass and guitar. But
Okay.
he would usually play drums for Cinderblock. Um, but anyway, so yeah, that was the first Corey Jackson I know. Well, this Corey Jackson, I think that's actually Corey is actually his middle name. But yeah, he was telling me one night that he said, yeah, he says it's kind of crazy about the number of people that contact him looking for some dude out of Jonesboro called named Corey Jackson. And I hadn't even heard of this Corey Jackson until that was the first when he mentioned it. It was the first time I'd heard of another Corey Jackson. It wasn't until a couple years after that I actually saw his name start popping up in the music scene around Jonesboro. So
Right on.
I guess he was around, just hadn't made it into my orbit until that point in time. So yeah, I always
Right.
call him the pretender Corey Jackson. The real Corey Jackson lives up in Missouri.
Yeah, I got you.
And I mean, I guess technically based on age, the one in Missouri is older. So, it would be
Yeah.
but yeah, let's see. There's a couple other names in here that I think I recognize. Cosmic Collective. Uh, yeah, I've heard of them guys. Oh, there's Hank Nightshade and the Midnight Suns is going to be there. Um, Icarus Gin. Oh wow, I haven't seen that name in a while.
Yeah, those dudes are really good. They're
Yeah, they were really good. They sounded really good. I mean, man, I haven't heard of them, seen them in a while. Inside Marcellus Wallace. Um, I
I,
like those guys. They are a lot of fun.
I got to mix them last year over at Huntington. That was a lot of fun. It was really good. The gravel yard up at the very top, I got to mix them over at Huntington.
Okay,
Bluegrass, but that's that's just my speed.
sure. Electric Voodoo Explosion. I got to hear them this past weekend. They were at the Paragould Farmers Market.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you familiar with the Kaysen story?
the name sounds familiar, but yeah, I can't read those. The rest of those names are getting too small.
He is he's playing lead guitar for Joe right now, but he's been doing his own thing for quite a long time. And Kaysen has a brother named Shad Story. They play together as the Story Boys sometimes, but
Okay,
pretty good. Uh, Kaysen's a hell of a guitar player, man. He's
okay.
really good.
Let's see what we got coming up next. Oh, I think that's it. That looks like the end of it. Yep, that will be the end of it.
Right.
So that's it. We're 32 slides in, and that's the end of what's going on in the area for
Ow.
music. So we're 2.5 hours into this thing, man.
Holy crap.
I think this is a record. This is the longest. This has been the longest DJ Taint uh, podcast. This has been the longest show that I've done
Yeah.
under the DJ Tank name. The only show that I've done under any of my labels, because technically I do 4 of these things a week
Oh,
under 3 different brands.
I guess.
So Sidetracks and Splinters is Tuesday and Thursday. DJ Tane is Wednesday, and then I do Steel and Stitches on Friday. So yeah,
Uh,
but
uh,
each one has their own unique thing that they do, which is why I had to split them out, because and that's actually how I ended up bringing the live show for DJ Taint here, is because I had been I had been using this platform to talk about my steel and or not my steel and stitch stuff. I've been talking about that too, but the Sidetracks and Splinters I'd been using DJ Taint to talk about that. But that really wasn't the appropriate um,
right. Yeah.
audience, or that wasn't the appropriate content for this audience. So
Yeah.
I realized when I was going to start doing that, I needed to split those two out and
Yeah.
keep the two of them separated. So
Yeah. And along with that, kind of start diluting each other.
yeah,
Like, yeah, they kind of start diluting each other because if you're trying to do both, you'll never give as much attention as you'd like to either one.
yeah. Now the
But
only time that I actually simulcast uh, to the Steel and Stitches and DJ Tank channel at the same time is on Saturdays mornings when I'm at the farmers market. I'll do a welcome to the market that I push out to all three channels. But yeah, that's the only time you see any overlap between the channels anymore. So I try to keep this channel focused on just the music, and then we talk about local events and local vendors and businesses and stuff on the sidetracks and splinters page. So
Right on, right on. Well, sir, I'm sorry to have kept you so long, but
oh, not at all. No, no. Like I said, this is the longest thing that DJ Tane has. This is the longest show that DJ Tane's had, and I
well,
don't remember if my interview on Sidetracks and Splinters with Dan Stidham.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't remember if I don't remember if my interview with him was longer than this or not, but this is either my all-time longest show or my second longest show all time, but definitely the longest for DJ Taint. So
Well, hey, if I'm bumping up on like almost getting the same amount of time with DJ Tank as like Dan Stidham, shit, that'll make my mom so proud.
well, there
She,
you go. I mean, you've been on the show twice now, so that's you're the only repeat that I've had. So yeah,
really?
appreciate it. Yeah,
Oh boy,
yeah.
it's going downhill. This show is the network is canceled. And it's like next week. You know that, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna have Jake come back. We may do that like this fall. Have Jake come back and actually bring the whole band, and have all three of the guys here and sit down and have a chat with them.
Yeah,
I had
that'd be
Jake by himself a couple of months ago, but yeah, I think and he said he had some. He wanted to come back on the show again, so I think we may have him come on the show and bring the rest of the band with him.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be cool. But yeah, again, man, thanks for having me. A second time, like wow,
Oh, absolutely.
now and like yeah, shoot, I had a lot of fun. Like man,
I did too, man. It's been great talking to you. It's been great catching up.
yeah,
Now you know a little bit more about me and about my backstory and background and how I stumbled into doing what I am today. But
yeah,
hey,
it's pretty cool. Like I say, I'd always kind of wondered, but the few times we've had a chance to really talk, it's loud and blah blah blah. We
right?
never run it,
And
never get to run into each other under circumstances like this where we can hear.
sure, yeah, that's weird. You can hear.
Yeah. So
Oh,
anyway, so,
speaking of hearing, you will appreciate this. Um, so I was at work a couple weeks ago when those um, there was the tornadoes that came through the area, and um, it was like, what was it, Wednesday, and there was like 70-80 mile an hour straight line winds going through Jonesboro.
yeah.
Well, and then the hail that came along with it and stuff. So my desk is on the second floor, and the second floor is unfinished. So there's no ceiling in it. There's no drop ceiling in it. I can literally look up and I see the roof and I see the spray foam that's sprayed on the bottom side of the roof from
Yeah.
my desk, right? Um, and I'm not complaining about that at all, because I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's like I got a space and there's an air conditioner, so I mean, I'm
Yeah.
good.
Whatever.
Um, and I'm afraid that they're going to finish the space out and then they're going to want to put people up there. And I'm not super excited about that, but I guess if they have to, they have to. But
And it'll
it's,
be the IT guy first.
it's kind of nice having this whole space to myself right now. But anyway, so I was up there and all that hail started coming in, and the wind and the rain and the hail and stuff. And I mean, it was loud. It was really loud. It was, so I flipped up, my watch, and I pulled up the noise meter on my watch,
Uh-huh.
and the noise meter on my watch was registering 95 decibels. And
Like roof insulation.
so I went downstairs, and I said something to one of the people that was downstairs, and I said, yeah, I said it was really loud up there, and they're like, oh, I don't went out. I said, no, when I say it was loud, it was 95 decibels, and they're like, I don't understand. I was like, that's louder than a nightclub. Most of the time, if I turn on the sound meter in a nightclub, honestly usually it's only 80 to 85 decibels
Oh, okay.
is about where you usually hit in
Yeah.
LA's.
All
So
right.
yeah, so it was louder than LA's on a Saturday night.
Yeah. I wow. I kind of been wondering about that because the only place where I've had access to a decibel meter uh, was in Pocahontas on the Court Square. There was a bar called Blethyn in there, and there's a city ordinance after 10 p.m. No matter when, it's got to be like under 100 decibels. So they had a meter on the wall, and we were smacking 100 constantly. Like I had to, it wasn't a compressor I had to put a limit on the,
Okay.
like I had to just put a hard stop, and like, and we would still peak at like 106, 107 every once in a while. And it was, yeah, dang,
Hmm.
I can't imagine like being that loud right above.
Yeah, it's
I would have been getting down out of there just because I'd have been afraid of it coming through.
well, I mean, it's funny because about the time I was looking at my watch and listening to the noise, it's like I watched the the front doors that go out to the elevator. They're pretty big, heavy wooden doors, and I watched those just swing open and then shut and swing open. And shut.
Yeah, that'd be a little ominous.
Yeah, I decided I wasn't going to take the elevator. I'd just take the stairs. I thought that might be a little better.
Yeah,
Although, I mean, when you're thinking about it, I'm not really sure that would have been better because if it had been a tornado and maybe somebody that knows something about structural engineering or something can provide some insight to this, but I've always thought that an elevator would be a safe place to be.
yeah, because that's in a full
It's
concrete
it's
cage.
basically a concrete tube, right?
Yeah, and it's most usually as close to the center of the building as they can
Yeah.
get. Like,
So, and I mean, and if you're going to put like a storm cellar, or like a tornado safe in your house, it's basically a concrete box in your garage usually.
oh man,
So I'm thinking this is just it's not a box, but it's a concrete tube, and you're inside
yeah,
basically a steel cage in a concrete tube.
yeah, and I wouldn't think you'd be in too much danger because if I understand the elevator redundancies correctly, if an elevator fails, it rises because the counterweight is what falls. The
It
counterweight
depends. Well,
elevator.
it depends
But
on the elevator. And that would be yeah, like a cable pulley counterbalance type elevator. Um, a lot of your elevators that are, especially only ones that are only 2 3 stories tall, are going to be hydraulic powered instead
oh, really?
of. So it's not going to be counterweighted. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
a big hydraulic piston.
Pump running a winch.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
No.
Right on. Right on. But, yeah.
So I mean, at worst case, this is since we're in a 2 story building. Worst case, if a hydraulic line blows out, I mean, I'm going to fall one floor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, might suck, but livable.
Yeah,
but but anyway, well, brother, I guess I'm gonna get off here and start heading to bed.
yeah,
Or
it is about that time.
yeah,
Unfortunately, have to get up and do that work thing again in the morning.
so. But anyway, thank you once again for having me, man. It was
Absolutely. Thank you for being
a
here.
lot of fun. Like, heck, all of it. Like I say, I just enjoy talking about the music scene in general. So it's
Sure.
awesome. It's
All right.
awesome.
Well, if I don't see you or talk to you before then, I will definitely try to find you at and say hi or listen to you play a set or something at Local Fest here in a couple of months.
Heck yeah, that'd be awesome. So, but anyway, well, y'all have a good night, and hey, hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. See you later, Damian.
See ya.